to another post-workout chat, and I'm here with Phil Faris. Phil, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Been working out, spending time with the family, getting ready for the holidays.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen you. We used to work together.
Right.
The old Charter days.
Yeah, the good old days of Charter.
Yeah. So, shout out to Charter, Crystal Lake. You still live in the area?
Yeah, I still live in Crystal Lake.
Mm-hmm. And I just want you to introduce yourself for our audience here.
Okay. Well, I have a podcast called Never Too Late for Fitness, and it's for people over 50 that want to get fit, stay fit, and lead a longer, healthier, happier life. And I also publish in the books in the fitness area. But my background was always in corporate America. I did consulting, I did sales management, executive training. But then as my health became more of an issue, I started focusing on that and made fitness, which was my passion, made that part of what I did on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. And part of that was, I was kind of forced to do it because once I hit the age of 50, I was in really good shape at 50. I'd always played sports. I played rugby, and I played touch football, and I played basketball, and played very competitively. And then when I hit 50, then injuries started. And then I found it a lot more difficult to respond. So you have a knee surgery, okay. And then I broke both wrists. And when I broke both wrists, the doctor said, you're going to have to give up tennis and basketball. Mm-hmm. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. And so they said, what do I have to do in order to get back and able to do that? And they said, well, it's going to be it's going to take you a year. So it took me a year. Mm-hmm. But I was back to playing basketball, back to playing tennis. Then I had back surgery, and that caused nerve damage in my left leg. And they said the same thing: can't play basketball. If you want to go out and hit with your grandkids, but you're not going to be able to play. Yeah. And my answer was, what do I have to do that?
Yeah, that's not acceptable, right? Yeah. Why does it always take away what I like doing? Yeah, right? Help me continue to do what I want to do.
I think they were just trying to manage expectations in case I couldn't, but they said, well, it's only, and so I did what was necessary. So I was always in a recovery mode, getting fit, and then another injury would come up, and then I had AFib, and AFib took 7 years of on and off, and when I was in AFib, I couldn't work out, and then I would have medication or an ablation, and I would get into normal heartbeat. And I would start working out, and I'd spend 6-8 months getting back in shape and doing everything, and then boom, go back into AFib, and then it was start over. And then finally, about 3 years ago, we finally found a way to help me live with AFib and work out, and it's been, given the guidelines they gave me, I can perform at 80-90% of what I did.
3 years ago, that's about the time we met, I think.
Yeah.
Right around that time.
Yeah, and that's when I said, let me. I had started my podcast, and that was, as I did research into what do people over 50 have to do to recover from certain things, from AFib or broken bones or whatever, I found that the standard answer was, well, you're not really that important because the fitness and health industry is geared towards younger people.
Right.
So as I found people that actually would help me, I started sharing it and then telling other people, and they said, well, why don't you share that? So I started a podcast, and I just started sharing the interviews I did, and said, I found this, it was selfish from my standpoint in that I learned things that I needed to know, and I just shared them. And then more and more people said, well, why don't you talk to this person? Why don't you talk to that person? Yeah. And then I said, well, let me focus more. I want to deal with the public when it comes to fitness, and I took the job of managing the club at Charter, which gave me an opportunity to work with. I did some group training, and I got to work with people and see and then pandemic came and closed down the club, and then I just focused in on I went back to focusing on publishing and the podcast for Never Too Late for Fitness.
When I noticed in the gym, you set a great example. I didn't realize your age, and when I found it out. It was an eye-opener for me personally.
Okay.
That you were so active and engaged into the gym yourself as well, like just working out. And can you remind me your age currently?
I'm 73.
73.
73. Yeah.
And
I'm actually working out harder now than I did a year ago. I started doing more high-intensity fit interval training.
Mm-hmm.
To the point I actually met with my cardiologist to say, here's where my heart rate is, here's what I'm doing. Am I doing anything to put myself at risk with AFib? And they gave me some specific guidelines and said, here's the thing, as long as you stay within this and you do that, you can do everything. But
Mm-hmm.
there are limitations. Like with AFib, my heart is less efficient. So they give me a beta blocker, which makes sure that it doesn't go too high. So they say if your heart rate gets up to 150, back off, because your heart's going to start working too hard, so hard that you won't get oxygen to all parts of you, and you'll probably pass out. So they said 150 for you is like 180 or 190 for someone like you, because it's working against a regulator that's supposed to suppress it.
Yeah.
So that means that if I run for, let's say, 300 yards, my heart rate hits 150, I have to stop and let it recover.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Once it recovers, I'm fine. Structurally it's sound, it's just the wiring is screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave me some guidelines that says you can't do these things, but you can do tennis. I can coach lacrosse. I can do interval training as long as I monitor my heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
So my body's not the same as it was when I was 30, but I'm doing a lot of the things that keep it as fit as it can be. And my goal is if I can do at 80 what I did when I was 60, then I'm going to be in pretty good shape. But I have to keep doing what I've always done in order to do what I love. Part of it was I had to ask myself, if I'm going to be alive for another 10, 15, 20 years, what do I want those years to look like? Mm-hmm. Do I want to be, I've got 3 grandkids, and I can either be the grandparent that takes the kids to the park and watches them, or I can be the grandparent that takes them to the park and plays with them.
Right.
When my grandkids were up for Christmas, COVID was in place. We rented out a gym. We went and played basketball 3-on-3 with the family, and then we got our lacrosse sticks out and played for an hour. So I didn't watch. I was playing with them. We were having fun. That's the highlight. I take my grandson to the gym with me, and he lifts, and now he's in high school playing football, and lifting is something he really enjoys, which is not always the case for kids. And he got that because that's something we've always done. Mm-hmm. So incorporating it into your life and say, what do you want to do? I want to coach lacrosse. I want to be able to play tennis. I want to be able to be strong. And that doesn't mean like I'm going to be able to bench press 300 pounds or squat 600 pounds. It means for me, I still can lift certain weights that I know that were challenging for me at a younger age. Mm-hmm. It's never going to be the same, but it's a benchmark for me that says, okay, you're maintaining muscle mass, you're maintaining strength. Because if you don't do that, then the issue of age trajectory comes into play. And age trajectory is how you're, when we're young, our age trajectory is, and our ability to perform is going up until we get to about our 20s and 30s. Right. And then it starts to decline in terms of, and it goes from your peak performance down to good performance, down to average performance, below, and then you're frail. And a lot of people, when they hit a certain age, usually around 50, all of a sudden their bodies won't do what they used to. And so they have a choice. Do I reinvest in their body, their health, and their fitness so they can do what they want, or they can say, oh, well, and it's usually at that time that you start getting multiple chronic diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, all sorts of other things, and then they put on weight, and it becomes harder and harder. And so their age trajectory goes like this, and all of a sudden, they can't do anything. And I'll see guys in their 50s say, God, how do you do all that? And I said, because I've always done it.
50, so fit over 50,
right.
Fit at 50. Where does that number come from? Is that something from personal experience, or that you've seen the 50s is really the time? That's the time where
it's a time when
it's a crucial time period in your life.
Well, it's a time when the kids are usually not the focus. This is for a lot for women.
Sure.
Specifically, as they get there, all of a sudden the kids are out or in college or wherever. And for women, it's for the first time they can start to focus on themselves. And for the man, he's either established in his career and now he has time, or he's thinking about transitioning a little bit. It's also when your body will break down more. Those were statistically. It also was for me because at 50 I did a contest to get in really great shape, and then I started having injuries. So that was kind of the benchmark for me that says every 6 months I was reinventing myself by injury.
Yeah.
And it was like, and my wife said, you're doing the same thing over again. I said, well, once, if I can't work out, then I get out of shape. You get deconditioned.
Yep.
And then you have to do different disciplines to get back in shape, and you have to adapt whatever happened to you in that period. So the 50 was kind of a benchmark where a lot of diabetes and hypertension and obesity come into play, and that's a place where they start getting worse. Or that's when people will start making dramatic changes because they'll say, okay, I'm 50 now. This is I've got 20, 30 years left.
Yeah.
How am I gonna use that?
Yeah. And this kind of makes me think about kind of where I am in my life, a new parent.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait till 50 and then try to reinvent myself or address 20 years of not being active.
Right.
So when you talk about sort of an older population of people being ignored in the industry, I feel for that. I also think that it's some of the younger folks, the attention is not always in the right spot. Like, you got to prepare for your body changing over time. And if people can just stay active all throughout their life, and it's hard. Life gets in the way, right? You have kids.
Right.
They have to go to school. They have their own activities. Finding a way to stay active through those years, I think, can also help you by the time you reach 50.
Absolutely. And multiple times when I had surgeries, the doctor said, you were able to recover as fast as you did because of how physically fit you were.
Right, yeah.
When you had that. And so then, you didn't have, instead of 6 months, it took 3 months and so that's something that fitness was always part of my life. It was either preparing for a season of rugby or football or something, and then there's the off season. In the off season, what do? You train. That's when you do more cardio. So that was just kind of the mentality I always had, and you just adapted it to whatever lifestyle was going on, whether it was work and travel, my kids going to swim meets, diving meets, whatever. You always found ways to work out. So I go to swim meets when I was in my 30s and 40s, and I would, in between, if you've ever been to a swimming meet, your child will swim for a minute, and then you got an hour before they swim again, and then they swim for a minute. So you see them for 3 minutes in a 3-hour meet, and so in between I would go do sprints, or I find a weight room, and so you just found ways to get your workout in a busy life, because my kids came first, but when they weren't in the pool, it didn't make any difference if I was there. So I would go find a place to get my workout in. Where a lot of other parents just sat there and socialized. And I said, hey, that's wasted time. So finding time to work out is critical when you have kids, because it's a very easy excuse not to, especially as your kids get older and they get into the activities. But that just kind of, do you have the mindset that says, my body is important to me?
Yeah.
And that's, and it's easier if you've had it going into 50s, because then than it is to start from scratch. Because there's a lot of people, only like 25% of the population regularly exercise and go to clubs. And so that means a lot of people never have made that a priority.
Right.
And, those are the health and fitness industry focuses on that same 20-25%, yet there's a whole lot of people out there that just don't want to do the traditional working out. And so they've got to find different ways if they want to have a longer, healthier.
For a lot of us, I'm guilty of this too. I don't really address something until I've already injured myself.
Right.
I don't change the way I look at my exercise until I've already hurt myself or have already gone through a change where I've realized that now I have to kind of go back.
Right.
When there are avenues out there, if you guys look, there are definitely places where you can adapt or adopt a holistic training approach, more geared towards specific like movement sustainability, functional training, and just a smarter approach to training, I think, is something that doesn't get a lot of attention. That's okay. I mean, if you can always wait and address it later on, it's just harder, right? I'm assuming that it's been more of a challenge for you as you've kind of gone through injuries and trying to reinvent yourself over and over to continue on.
Yeah, and I use different. I did more of a bodybuilding or strength training approach most of my life because that was what fit for the sports I was in. Now I do a lot more functional fitness and metabolic training.
Yeah.
And so movement is and flexibility and range of motion and functional strength is more and more important.
Yeah.
Because ultimately I want to enjoy my life because of my functional fitness, not regret that I can't enjoy my life because I don't have it.
Yeah.
And that's, you made a point about how people change their focus from vanity to what I call is we're paying the back nine of life. And I had a friend of mine that was a high school classmate, and he lost 60 pounds at age 65. And he was telling me how he came about to start changing his lifestyle. And he said his wife and his doctor had been after him for years to lose weight. He was 5'7" and 230, so pretty robust around the waist. And he said, he kept on saying, well, I can always do that, I can always do that, I can always. And he said one day he was a principal and he went to school and he had a brand new shirt on. He was very proud that he had the shirt on, and he walked in, and one of the other teachers looked at him and says, Randy, you kind of look like a sausage in that thing. And he said, it hit me. And I looked in the mirror and he said, he was right. And he wasn't trying to be malicious. He just made an offhand comment. And he said, I changed my life that day. And I said, what'd you do? And he said, well, I stopped drinking four Cokes a day. And I used to make bread every morning, so I would eat a loaf of bread. And so he said, I changed that to cauliflower. And he started going through and making smart choices. And after 6 months, he lost 60 pounds. He was feeling great. And then he had a knee injury. And so he had to go in for surgery, put on 20 more pounds. And that's when he and I connected. And I said, well, what are you going to do now? You can go back.
Right. Yeah.
And he said, I like the way I feel when I don't have the extra weight.
Right.
I like what I'm able to do. And so he kept doing it. And I just got a thing on from Facebook. He said, I'm down another 30 pounds. I'm in the best shape of my life. He works in a marina now. He retired from teaching. Now he works in a marina where he's doing physical labor with moving. And he said, so it's easy to get workouts in by moving engines and boats and stuff like that. And I walk, and my wife joined me, and so we eat healthy. And he said, I just feel so good moving. And he's 72 now. So in 5 years, he transformed his life because of how he felt, because he made that initial commitment.
But it was based off of how someone thought he looked.
Started that. That's what motivated him.
That's what motivates everybody. I feel like most people, if you tell them, oh, well, you're not moving too well.
Right.
And accepting some of the things that might happen as you get older. You go through your long work career, and if you're sitting all the time, it's going to affect your body. And it's not as important to address that. But if someone says, you're looking a little,
a little thick in the waist.
I'm going to change my life. Yeah. Well, what about, that little bit of back pain that you're complaining about all the time? You can do something about that. It always starts back at it started me off here, vanity, right? The way I look matters.
Yeah.
It's very important, and that's okay. But like you mentioned, on the other side, when he made it to the other side, started feeling great about not only how he looked, but how he felt and where his life was at in terms of physically, mentally, was doing better. It's better on the other side. You just have to get there. There are reasons outside of maybe your initial motivation, things that are going to be great for you. You stay active. And I feel like people know this. It's just not the biggest motivating factor for people.
And that's why they say that, when you want to quit, you have to go back to why are you doing it in the first place. And so when you start, what for me is, what are my whys? And so I did a vision board. I had my grandkids. I had my lacrosse players. I had all the things that I wanted to continue doing for the rest of my life.
Wrote it down?
I made a collage,
Okay.
and just so I could visualize it and say,
Yeah.
why are you doing this?
I'm a visual person too. I like that.
So I said, okay, here's this, and that when I coach lacrosse, we always have a thing when kids don't. I say if the coach is talking and you're talking, you'll do push-ups until I get tired. And I said I never get tired. Yeah. So I've done push-ups with my high school kids, my youth kids, and I've never lost a challenge with them. And that's,
Come on, kids.
Yeah, kids, yeah. So
Come on.
let's do push-ups. And I said, okay. So when I was in high school, when I was coaching high school kids, I could do 70, 75 push-ups. And so, I just could do push-ups until every kid stopped. And I said, do you want to do that again? They go, no. I said, then don't talk.
Right. Yeah.
So it was kind of a way to demonstrate that I can still do something. I can't run as fast as them. But what I could get is saying, okay, this is something physically that I can do. And it was kind of kept me on my edge to say, can I continue to do that? I have to be able to say, this is, or you can run laps, and it's, from a practice standpoint, it's a lot easier to do push-ups, which last about a minute, than if I run laps, it's
Right,
going
it's
to take
different.
5 minutes, and I lose 5 minutes of practice. So,
But if you stay active, there are certain things that you can do. I think for me, a lot of the difference I'm already starting to see is the recovery time is different for me versus myself at 18,
Right.
or myself at 20. And that is the thing that I think kind of limits how much you can improve over time. And of course, age, when you get to a certain age, improvements over yourself from 30 years ago is tough. But staying around the same spot I've seen it.
yeah.
And I've seen people improve from where they were in their 30s and where they're at in their 50s. I've seen it. And you can do that. The preparation and the dedication you have is different though, right? You have to like, don't skip stretching. Like, don't, like, there's things you have to like really maintain. And maybe things you can talk about. What are things that you implement that you didn't used to, but you have to do them now? You have to do these things.
What is I have a love affair with my foam roller.
Yeah.
It's because I have arthritis in my back, in my knees, in my wrists, and if I don't attend to that, now one is motion is lotion when it comes to arthritis. The more you move, the better it feels. But there's some. So I always do some stretching out before I do tennis. Before I'm on the foam roller, getting the lower back, getting the IT band, certain parts of the body, just to get activated and engaged. And all of a sudden, I feel better. I do more stretching after a workout. The things that I never thought about. And the other is, there are days when I realize my body is not ready to give it 100%. And there's a lot of studies around heart rate variability and readiness to perform.
Yes.
And you actually cause more problems. And on those days, I take my ego and say, it's not there. I can do a walk. I can do something else.
That's huge, because those days are real for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that if you can do something else and be okay with not like being your best you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's very like driven into people. Like, I got to be better every single day. It's something I talk about all the time. No, you just have to be consistent in your journey. Like, just be active every day. Be active. You don't have to be your best self every day you're out there.
And there was an individual I interviewed, a guy named Joel Jameson, who trains MMA fighters. And he said one of the things he learned was it was monitoring their heart rate variability, was that there are days where you have to have a recovery day. And he says if you don't take it, you build up inflammation. Your performance drops. And it's like, because usually this is usually when, okay, I'm going to start over. I'm going to be the born again health nut. And I'm going to work out twice a day for 30 days, and all of a sudden I burn out. And this was me. So I'm not, and I just realized that, no, you have to build in at least one day of recovery, be active. And that's usually when my wife and I will go for a walk. She walks every day. And so I said, I'll walk with you today. And so that I'm doing something, but I'm letting my body recover.
You have to.
And there's sometimes I may have to, even 2 days. As I get older, there's times it says, no, it's not going to be there. And so you just say, okay. I'm off a day on my schedule. So what? You know, it's so I'm on a journey that says
creatures of habit, you know.
Yeah.
And some people are just really develop like an addiction to exercise, and that's okay. I mean, it's good to be moving. It's working harder and working smarter, right? There's a balance.
Right.
You got to have that balance. And if you love it that much, there are other things that you can do to stay active and help your body in that recovery time still do something while being smart about it, you know.
Yeah, and you know, it's like when people ask me, well, what's the best exercise? And I said, what do you like doing? Whatever you like doing,
yes, yeah,
you will continue doing.
Yeah.
So,
that's why when I started training people, I asked them, I want the feedback of every exercise I have you do. If you don't like it, I'll throw it out and we'll do something else. I can come up with hundreds of things we can do. If you don't like it, you're not going to like training with me. So what is the sense of me having you?
Well, you know, exercise should and working out should not be something you endure. It should be something you enjoy or get some benefit
Absolutely.
Because if it's something you endure, as soon as it's over, you're going to stop and you're not going to get the benefits from it. So the big thing is, I hate cardio.
Yeah.
So how do you make cardio enjoyable and still accomplish an objective? For some people, it's dance. I know I have a classmate that does belly dancing. Now, she's in her 70s. She's part of a belly dancing group that goes around, and everybody else in the group is 30, 40, 50. But she said it helped me lose 25 pounds. I stay fit. I got a great core, and it's fun, and I get to perform. I said, you know, should I be doing something else? I said, if you're doing it and it's giving you results
and enjoyment,
then keep doing it. You know, some people need challenges. For me, I can't run distances anymore. So how do I get cardio in? So I found what works for me, other than tennis, is to run hills. Now, most people don't like running hills, but for me, running a 40, 50-yard hill at full speed is about 15 seconds. And then I turn around, I walk down the bottom, and it gives my heart rate time to recover.
Yeah.
And so I can do 10 hills, and then I get 20 hills, and I know that I'm getting a maximum because I'm going as hard as I can. And it's a challenge. So I start out with 10 hills, then I get to 15
It's efficient.
hills.
Interval training is efficient. That's why everyone does it.
Yeah, and and I said, for me, it's still a challenge because I can monitor I'm getting better.
Yeah.
And so that was something that, you know, I wouldn't recommend for other people, but it worked for me. My wife, it's walking, and you know, so she wants a better workout. There's places where there's lots of hills. She puts in her true crime podcast, and it's an hour podcast, and she walks an hour, and she said, "Hey, I got it in." And sometimes she walks twice a day because she wants to hear another podcast, and she just happens to walk.
Yeah.
So I said, you're getting the benefits, and you're not thinking, "Oh my God, I got to go out and walk," or "I got to go out." It shouldn't be that way. Find the things you like.
Yeah, so find something you guys like and then throw on my podcast.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
While you do it. So you had something here I do want to talk about mistakes and pitfalls people make on their road to reclaim their fitness. How can they avoid these things? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I guess there's two types of people. People that used to work out and have it for a long time, and then they go back into it.
Yep.
And they still think that they want to do the same routine they did when they were 20.
Before, yeah.
And they want to start with the same weights, the same, and no, that's not the way to go.
Right.
You know, you have to assess your body, where your body is. And this is where I'm a very strong proponent of having personal trainers or working with a fitness coach because form is critical no matter what exercise you're doing, and your body is different. So even though I know a lot about training, I've always used trainers to help me at least initially making, am I doing it properly? Is my form right? The last thing you want to do is start training and they get injured. And I've seen it too often where they start out, they push it too hard, they use the wrong form, they get injured, and then they give up.
Well, because in the beginning of your journey, you're kind of overzealous. It's like, I'm starting my fitness journey. I'm really, the adrenaline's like going that first workout, and then you're really enthusiastic, which is good.
Right.
But guidance is always good, not only for form safety, but the safety of not overtraining, knowing when those rest periods should be. I think that's the biggest thing that people should use like a fitness coach or trainer for is programming.
Right.
And it's time efficient, and it'll really set you up. I think that's the hardest thing. It's not figuring out what to do.
Right.
A billion exercises out there. You figure it out. You go online. And you can even find out how to do the proper form. There's coaches online. I'm doing stuff on my channel where I can show you form. The thing though is, how do I put it all together in a program long term? Like, how do I map out my month? How do I specifically, do periodization for these exercises and my training routine? That's where a trainer really comes into play.
Because the question, what's your goal in working out?
Yeah,
some people.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to run a marathon. Is different than I want to compete in the CrossFit games, or
completely different. Yeah.
I want to be able to play better tennis. I want I want to lose weight. These are all different goals that require different kinds of things, and oftentimes. Fitness programs offered at clubs or online are kind of one size fits all, and it doesn't individualize it enough to the specific needs of the person.
Sure.
And that's also true when there are people that are just starting out.
They don't know what they need.
They don't know what they need.
They don't even know what they need. Yeah.
And they don't know how they're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to, they come in, I'm sore. Well, you should feel a little sore. Is it pain sore, or is it just like, oh, they have to understand that's how your body recovers, and are you drinking enough water, and all these little things that you can tell people as they go through that journey, they won't get, and they'll say, well, that the next day I'm sore and I'm hurt. I did legs and now I can't even sit down and get up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah,
and that's aligning their expectations around it. So again, the biggest is finding the right program, and the right, if you're going to use a trainer, is to find the one that's right for you.
Yeah, one you're comfortable with, and you just got to also know, like you said, your goals. Like, what do you want out of it? You relay that to the person who's trying to help you, and they should be able to come up with something. Let's see. Most important question for people over 50: ask themselves about fitness. I guess just into the last one too. What's the biggest takeaway you can share with the listeners here?
I guess there is hope, and there are options. No matter where you are on your fitness level, there are programs and people and resources out there to help you no matter what. And if you look at the one thing we didn't touch on was that physical fitness has a big impact on our mental and emotional well-being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And depression and suicide become more and more rapid as you get older, and part of that is based on the physicality of it. So be active. Find choices that work for you. And it's never too late. I mean, no matter what, 50, 60, 70, 80, you can still get up and make progress that will make a difference in your overall life experience. And the more you are, the more physically fit you are, the more mentally fit, the more emotionally fit you are, the more you have available to give to the people you care about. Mm-hmm. And if you care about other people, being the best you is important.
Yeah, definitely that's a good takeaway. Anything?
That's I guess that would be the last. I guess the other is go back and ask yourself, how do you want to spend your last 10, 15 years on Earth? Mm-hmm. And what do you want to be doing?
Yeah.
And we all know that at some point in time you're going to be in a wheelchair and frail. And,
hopefully not.
Well, at some point in time. But for me, I want that to be one day.
Yeah, always one day.
Yeah, it's eventually you get there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so up until then, I want to be doing all the things I want to do, and not be restricted because of the physical capacity of my body, and that's something I can control.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. I always try to take wisdom from some people that have experienced more than me. I guess I can put it that way.
Yeah.
People always say, well, just wait till you get to my age. And wait till you get to my age. And I've heard it my whole life. People talk that way. When you're talking to someone who's a little more youthful, there's always that, well, you'll understand one day.
Right.
And I kind of, at every stage of my life, I kind of get what they were talking about every time. You can't drink like that, when you're
right.
Yeah, sure I can. You just feel different when you're younger.
Right.
And you think that won't change. You really think it won't change. I convinced myself, like, there will never be a point where I can't, chug a 40 in 10 seconds.
Right.
I can do it. I can do it all the time. You can't. Just, and it's different for some people. It's an older age. For some, it's not like 31. That's when it's going to happen.
Right.
But to put that in perspective in terms of like how you should kind of live your life, not always in like fear of like getting older or like, oh, I need to prepare for this and that, but to just be mindful, I guess, or how would you put it? As you're maybe for the younger folks listening.
We go through different stages, as you graduate from college, you get married. One of the big milestones is having a new baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Changes your world immensely in terms of your responsibility. Having grandchildren changes a perspective that says, okay, my granddaughter is 5 months old. If I want to see her, if I want to be able to play sports with her in 18 years, that means I'll be 91 years old. So my mindset is, how do I stay fit and active until I'm 91?
Yeah.
And then if we have more grandkids, that'll push that out.
Yeah.
So that becomes my goal. Now, will you accomplish all my goals? Don't know. But it says if I do things, I can affect it and realize that your perspective will change as you age. If you become aware that there's a need for something, do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
If you know that fitness is good, adapt it. If taking care of your body is good, do it now rather than later.
Right.
And the other is the mental, emotional part of what you get from working out in terms of how that does. Because we get enough crazy stuff going out there affecting us emotionally that we need that outlet. And physical fitness is one of the great ways of fighting depression and anxiety and all that other stuff, because it creates the natural chemicals in our body rather than let the external ones affect us. So if you want to be healthy and happy, cherish your body and cherish your fitness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good advice.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I think about cherishing my body in terms of like when I get like a cut that scars me and it doesn't go away.
Okay.
Like that's there forever. Like your body doesn't like that's your one body.
Right.
You have one. That's gone.
Right.
And there could be something a little bit more major than that. But just even a simple like scar that never goes away. Like that's your body now. It's part of you.
Right.
And that might not go away. And you want to treat your body with love and respect, right? You want to keep it active because you only get that one.
Right.
And something I think about sometimes. And this is, I think, a good conversation for some people to hear because you forget sometimes. You take it for granted.
Yeah, well, when we're younger, we're indestructible.
Yeah.
I mean, in my 20s and 30s, I said I could do anything and still function. And I realized that, there were times when that was not really good for my body.
Yeah.
So
don't procrastinate. Take care of your body.
Take
Lessons.
Care. Yeah. Make it a priority. And I look at it as it's an investment in my future. If I want to do things in the future, I have to invest now in what my body will allow me to do.
Yeah, well put. Yeah.
Okay.
Really quick, where can people find your podcast? Find you?
You can find nevertoolateforfitness.com. It's my website, and on there's a list of my podcasts that are on nevertoolateforfitnessradio.com. And if you have a question or if you have a story to share, please let me know. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Marco. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks.